Hey y'all, welcome back to the ranch. I'm Jared Paul, and today is all about Yamadori. We're going to take a look at 4 trees that I Yamadori this past spring, 2019. 3 of them are doing really well. One failed, but within the pot that failed, that oak tree died, but I did get a birch tree to volunteer itself. I believe it's a Korean birch, and it's doing really, really well. The other 2 Yamadoris you've seen before in previous videos, and then I am debuting one maple that is finally doing something. It's growing very muscularly. It's got a bunch of different branching. I think it might even have a few trunks down low. So we're going to take a look at what we have to do there for its initial pruning, as well as the roots before we throw it in its first pre-bonsai pot. All right, so that's all coming up on today's episode of Jarhead Bonsai. Here we have the verbatim that I Yamadori'd from underneath my porch steps. Oh my gosh, I love this thing. So I didn't repot it or anything like that, but I did prune it down, and you'll see it's kicking off multiple buds. Boom, boom. I just really wanted it to grow in thick and healthy and allow this bad boy to thicken up. Since the verbatim seems to be really fast growing, it'll be fun, because it'll be a multiple pruner. I love the trees that you could prune like almost every month. And it's just like, being active with your bonsai. It's also fun to put in the time and, train the trees that you don't touch for over a year, but ones that you get to give attention to all the time, that's enjoyable as well. All right. So you see it's full. I took out a little bit of cross branching. I nipped the tips on everything and it's really filling out, becoming more mature. So I'm going to pop this one back to where it's at. I'll probably bring this thing inside once the temps say they're going to go to 32, and I'll bring it down into the basement grow room. So here we have the white pine that I collected, and I think it did really well this year. I didn't prune it at all. I let it establish some roots, and it's in a nice deep pot. So once it establishes roots, maybe in, I don't know, this time next year or the following spring, maybe a year and a half, I'll repot it and see if we can't, shorten the root base and get it in a smaller pot and kind of make it a Japanese garden tree / bonsai. But I really like all these bright green plumes that came out this year. I know it's a white pine because when you count the individual nodes that bloom out, there's 5 needles. So 5 needles white, 3 needles, I believe, is red in this area. So that's how you know there. And it is really a bright, bright yellow right now. If you look over here, I had collected this the year before, and it is dark green, and it already has like some yellowing needles towards the trunk. So I'm thinking, even though it has 5 needles, I thought it was a white pine as well. I might have to do my research. There's also pitch pines in this area. So anyways, I am growing these to maintain the same type of height, same type of style, just a nice full natural little tree. They're probably, I don't know, 5-6 years old. All right, on to the next one. Third Yamadori covered on the first playlist was this little oak that has since died on me. So I don't know if this pot is jinxed and that's why they're giving it away, or I got it for free, but the oak is dead. I put a cutting of Zelkova in there, and I don't think it's doing too well, but my kiwi vine has attached itself to it, so I'm just letting it climb for now. However, in the first video with these Yamadori, there was a Korean birch, I believe, that had volunteered itself in this pot, and I have since transplanted it into a terracotta pot, and I'm going to show you that now. This is that Korean birch. I believe it's a Korean birch because it has the exact same profile as one I grew from seed. Boom, boom. This is a little bit older. obviously, but they seem to have the same leaf. So that's what I'm classifying it as, is a Korean birch. Apparently they are not only local to Connecticut, but if you just have pots out with soil, they will volunteer and grow themselves, which is awesome because anybody who grows trees out there knows germinating the trees. Oh my gosh, what a process, some of them, you know? It's fun, and that's part of the challenge, and that's why I really appreciate growing trees over like fruits or veggies that are like you throw them in some soil and they're going to germinate, because each one offers its own challenge. You germinate, you get a certain percentage of the seeds, and then within the first 3 months you get a certain amount that are going to die off, and then 6 months same thing, and then you have to transplant them, and the numbers get thinned and thinned and thinned, where it's like, okay, you really appreciate the process and you hope to refine it so that you don't lose so many in the future. You see the maple, nice and healthy. Coming in here, take a look at that little trunk ski. So I got it all raked out, and it looks like I have a really cool trunk, and that's probably why I planted it down low, just to make sure that I got roots. So I'm going to remove these ones up top, and then it looks like we're going to have a nice start. Kind of comes up here, tapered, well, thick to thin, splits into three. I've left all the foliage on this one, since it's the thinnest, to let it get some thickening up. I took all off of here. It just didn't have any low leaves or branches, so if I have to lose it, I'm fine with it. And I would just turn into like some dead wood. But if it stays, that's cool too. And then here we go. I cut this one down low, this nice little branch here, and the apex nice and straight. I took all the leaves off except for the top two. And let's see if we can't get some ramification or branching from that. So I'll show you an update after I prune this root base up. Take you for some bonus footage. There were two Yamadori that I was not very proud of, so I don't believe I did any video on them. They were larger trunks, but what happened was we set off on my property into the woods, Laura, Franny, and I, to Yamadori, and like the pricker growth was so dense that it made it not fun at all. So it was really hot. We were getting stuck with prickers, so I just cut down a couple of trees that didn't look like they'd be able to do much, and threw them in some soil. So here's one. It's a trip trunk, and we got plenty of growth, plenty. I'm not even sure of what the species is. However, just the fact that it survived. It was probably 20-25 feet tall, this tree, but you know, neck to neck with a bunch of other ones that same species. Those weren't interesting, so I did not chop them. This was the only score, I believe. So this is the one that caught my eye. You see it's nice and thick, same species. Not sure, I can look it up once they get a little bit older. It might even be a verbatim, like the one I showed you earlier, just way older. But you see it's got nice thick trunk, and I actually got some stuff to sprout. It was nothing but this trunk. There was not one bud on it, not one leaf, nothing. And it was like that for a while. I thought I was a total failure. I was like, oh well, it wasn't an enjoyable day and I got nothing out of it, and I possibly killed 2 trees. So now I feel a lot better about it. So I'm just gonna let these grow. I will bring them in once the temperatures say that they're gonna freeze, and I'll bring them down to the basement grow room and see if we can't get those branches to thicken up and come on out even more this winter.